Let me get this. It was reported the Lions and star wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown are working or in discussions on a new contract that could pay him up to $25 million per year for at least 3 years. Extending Amon-Ra St. Brown as a top priority for the Lions this offseason, he writes. Let me get the tweet up. But just hearing that tweet, I mean, this is obvious. It's not like it's breaking. I mean, we knew that extension was on its way. But when you hear that number, I mean, here it is. Yeah, it sounds about right. I mean, $25 million in this modern day age. I'm surprised it's not more, to be honest.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it would be around the 28, even damn near 30 if they really wanted to, with all the leverage he could have with this. I mean, I know it'd probably be 25 just because it's Brad, and would be 28 to 30 anywhere else, and Amon-Ra knows that.
Yeah, I mean, I think 25. I mean, I'm just pulled up contracts right now, like an average per year right now. Like Debo's at 24, Terry McLaurin 23, DK Metcalf 24, Stephon Diggs 24, AJ Brown 25, Cooper Kupp 26, and then Devontae and Tyreek over 28 and 30. Like the cap's going to keep going up, and like the market's going to keep getting higher and higher. And like the fact you can get them at 25, like I think that's a perfect price. Like in my opinion, 3 years, 4 years, like lock that in. Take that, because the market obviously every year just keeps going up, and it's going to keep getting higher. And you're going to see guys get 30s, 28 plus, and I think 25 for first team all pro wide receivers. I like it. Get it done now, and then go sign Panay and extend Jared Goff, extend those two guys, and just get everything out of the way.
Yeah, that's like when you talk about like toughness and what this team's identity is. Like the first two players that come to mind immediately is St. Brown and Penei Sewell. Like those are the two that, like, when you talk about grit, hard work, crazy talented. It's not just like the grit that, like, these guys are actually one of the best at their position. I think Penei's the best, and Amon-Ra is one of the best. Like that's where that's like the faces of this team. One of the many faces. I think Jared and all those guys you could bring up, but those two are like the pillars. Especially offensively. And you got Aiden Hutchinson, of course, who's another guy that fits exactly what the Lions are as a brand, as a football team. Like, you do whatever it takes to sign those two guys. Like, I know people throw this term around like blank check. That term applies to those two players, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think you can eventually make a case for Aiden Hutchinson. Like those two guys, like you just write this down. All right, sign your name. Just sign it for me. Here you go. Just write write the number, and we'll just get it done. Like that's how I feel about those two players at this point. And they're integral to like this offense, man. It's not a coincidence once they started peaking, top 5 offense. Like, I mean, let's be real here. Like Amon-Ra broke out last year, top 5 offense. This year, he's
someone he's a massive piece on this offense, and you have to have him going forward.
Yeah, same with Penei Sewell.
Yes, like these are guys like you when you have building blocks of a great football team, like those are guys that you have to like put a priority on. That's what Brad said a couple weeks ago in his end of season press conference. We're gonna just focus on re-signing our guys and developing our guys, re-signing our guys, like the players who put that top 5 offense 2 years in a row, just took you to the NFC Championship game. They have to stay in the building. So whatever the price is, if it was 28, to be honest, I wouldn't have been mad. I would have been like, okay, like we have to get the job done.
It can be, and I know it sounds outrageous, but Booner, to your point, the cap goes up every year. If Amon-Ra were to get 29 to 30, would I be like, ooh, I really wasn't expecting that? But would I be mad? Absolutely not. To your guys' point, and I don't need to indulge on it even more than you guys have, blank checks, whatever they want, give them. My question to you guys is, how much do you think, and Booner, I don't know if you can pull up, because you pulled up the wide receiver contracts, if you can pull up the tackle contracts, how much do you guys think Penei gets paid?
I got you.
Like realistically, like, because to Booner's point that we just pulled up, like AJ Brown was $25 million. So you think, okay, that was before Amon-Ra gets re-signed. You'd expect 28.
The highest tackle is Laramie Tunsil at 25 a year.
Yeah, because he signed that big extension with Houston. And
3 years, $75 million.
That kind of set because again, like this goes to the Amon-Ra point to what you said, Lucas. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if St. Brown got the most or close to the most, because it's the same thing with quarterbacks in every position. It's not always who's best, it's who's up next. That's how it works. Like Kyler Murray got paid. We're like, how? Well, easy to tell you. It's because he's up next.
Yeah.
And he's gonna look around. So for Penei, you look at Laramie Tunsil, $25 million. If I'm Penei, I'm like, unless we'll see what he thinks. But as his agent, I'm like, you could ask for 30.
To put perspective on it, Trent Williams is getting 23 a year, and he's like signed, I think, through 2027 or
But he's
2026.
underpaid too, man. Like
Yeah.
He is for sure, but like that just puts perspective. Like I'm getting you Panay, you're probably going to give him for around 26, 27, in my opinion. Like around
Okay.
what? Like I don't think it's going to be like a crazy like the highest right now it's 25. He's going to go up and get 30 or 28. I think it's going to be right above. Like I don't think you take like when you're resetting the market, at least in my opinion, like just even looking at the numbers now, everyone's so close. Like it looks like in the market's probably been reset a couple times. I'm sure when Trent Williams re-signed that 23 million a year one, I'm sure that was probably the highest paid at that time a couple years ago. So
True.
I'm guessing like every year it's going to be that and other guys are going to pass him. So my guess is he gets 25, 26, maybe 27 and that's going to be it. And you're going to have a steal out of it too because eventually he's going to be lower on that list.
So, but you guys all think he's the highest paid tackle in football when he resigns?
Yes.
I think
He's the best tackle. He's the best
I
offensive
agree.
lineman.
Yeah. Okay.
I think even if it's like 25.1, you know, like or something, like he's gonna have to
I feel you, yeah.
Just for Panay's sake. Like that's there's something about that. Like it's like when Joe Burrow and Herbert signed their extensions, they're like a little bit higher than the next guy, a little bit higher. It doesn't have to be millions, but yeah, I mean, he definitely should command that. I know who is Biggins brought up also. It has to do with projections of the salary cap based on the Dick's TV contract. He's right. Like also the salary cap's going to continue to rise, so you have to factor that in as well. I mean, it's not like we're unaware of the salary cap. Like we understand the concept, but you're not gonna be able to keep everybody. We know that.
Yeah.
But you have to prioritize who you can keep.
That's why I think the building blocks of these teams, like you look at the defense, like a Hutch has to be resigned. To me, like in the secondary, like you're gonna have to make sure in a couple of years you keep Brian Branch on offense. And I know you don't like it, but like a Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't hate keeping it. Like there's just certain guys who it's like, hey, this is your core foundation. You keep your core, and Brad, like. And I think people aren't going to realize this until a couple more years down the line. He's been so good at drafting, and he's going to keep being good at drafting to where you're going to let some guys go, but it's okay because Brad has been so good at like finding, evaluating players and then developing them to where it's like holes will keep getting filled. Like this isn't going to end anytime soon, especially when guys start to walk like a CJ Gardner-Johnson to where we're hearing he's going to leave. That's fine. Like that's why you had an Iffy and you drafted an Iffy to kind of take that spot in a Brian Branch, like in a Kirby Joseph. Like think about that. CJ Gardner-Johnson, who led the league in interceptions 2 years ago, we can just let him walk because you drafted Kirby Joseph, Iffy Melifonwu, and Brian Branch. Like that's kind of what's going to keep happening. Like you keep your full core foundation. Some of these guys are going to have to walk. Example, as CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, and even to bring up this comment here, that guy up north, 50 for Goff, 30 for St. Brown, 27 for Sewell, 27 for Hutch, the Matt Donap guy. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I have a kind of a counterpoint, but more. I just want to
take 5 off Amon-Ra.
Well, I want to give some context to that. Like you look at the 49ers salary cap this year, cap hit. Just looking at their cap hit, you have Trent Williams at 31 million. That's the cap hit. Obviously, that's what his hit was this season. Debo at 28, Eric Armstead 28, Fred Warner 24, Kittle 21, Chardavius Ward 17, Hargraves 15, almost $1.5 million. Like, so the reason why they're able to do that is because of Brock Purdy, of course, on a rookie contract, which he's getting paid pennies compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL. He makes under $1 million. But if you're the Lions and you're a fan, you're thinking, I don't want to lose Goff. There's no way. Well, the way that works is, and like I said, you're not going to be able to keep everybody. And the luxury of having a guy like Brad Holmes and the 49ers having someone like Lynch is you can replace guys because he's so good at evaluating talent. Now, you don't want to, replace your pillars, right? Like the main guys, but like, again, you're not gonna be able to keep everybody. Like, unfortunately, a Kirby Joseph, you might not be able to re-sign. It's just, it's going to have to be like that. It just, unfortunately, Lee McNeil, you hope to re-sign him. You might not be able to. So that's the reality. Unless you do go the 49ers route and you say, we have a talented, a team. We have a talented offense. We can do this with a young quarterback. That's also another route.
Hooker.
Which way Brad Holmes goes is up to him. But at this point, yeah, you can do it. You just you're gonna have to sacrifice somehow. That's just how it goes. Whether it's quarterback or someone else, you're gonna have some guys depart.
That's why I think of the building blocks. Like you have your key pieces, right. You have your core. Like those numbers he put up there. Like those are guys who are going to be around. Now you have to find a way to save money on the other plate, like the other parts. You're just gonna have to do it.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it comes down
Bonjay,
to.
Jonah Jackson. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
another guy. Like, you
Like-
might not be able to keep a guy like Jonah. You know,
The Chiefs made that decision when it ccame down to like a Tyreek Hill. They said, all right, we have our core pieces, Travis Kelce, we have Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, we're gonna end up keeping. But guess who they walked away from and they let go? Tyreek Hill needed to make money, and he said, hey, all right, see ya. I'm gonna go make it somewhere else, and like that's gonna happen, and it's inevitable. But like, if you have your 4 or 5 guys you want to keep, or 3 or 4 guys, keep them, and then you could save money in other spots. That's how I look at it. It's gonna be for the future.